All right, so this meeting of the Barnstable Infrastructure and Energy Committee is being recorded and will be posted for future viewing on the Town of Barnstable website. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, anyone else desiring to make such a recording or transmission must notify the chair. So with that, I will turn it back over to our chair, Barry.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and glad you can be on the call. Why don't we, we're calling the meeting to order. Let us go over the meeting minutes of June 25th. I've reviewed the meeting minutes. I do not have any comments. Does anybody have any comments on the meeting minutes?
They look good to me.
They look good to me too. I read them.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay. Second, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Yes. Okay. All right. So the minutes are adopted. Thank you, Kelly. So next we have on the agenda, we have a speaker here, Heidi Mahoney from GoNet Speed, and I'm going to turn it over to Ron to introduce the speaker and give any relevant context.
Yeah, so thank you to Kelly for getting me Heidi's contact info. GoNet Speed, the little bit of research I've done with them, it seems as though, and correct me, Heidi or John, if I'm wrong, that you guys are currently starting a project in Yarmouth in the near future. I believe that you've already had maybe a few meetings with the town of Barnstable in a different setting. So what we're looking for is just a little bit of, insight as to, your plan for creating a network in the town of Yarmouth. Any opportunities that may arise from that for expanding to other underserved areas, including the town of Barnstable. And any infrastructure challenges maybe that the Cape might provide.
Awesome. I do have a few slides to go through to sort of talk a little bit about who we are. I feel like, Kelly, you look familiar. I don't know if you were on our other call before.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Although planning did share some things with me.
Okay.
But yes, you do look familiar as well. And I also did just make you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen because I assumed that was going to be your next question.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, I will do that in a second. So the slides that I put together are specifically for the build that we're doing in Barnstable. I do have numbers and a map of what we're doing in on the Cape in general. So I can talk through that as well, but I'll start with Barnstable. We can sort of answer questions as we go and then sort of take it from there. And Jane, I swear I've seen you on another committee meeting somewhere before.
Well, have you presented to the Tech Council?
Probably, yes.
Yes, yeah. That's probably where, because this is a very important topic to that group as well.
Yeah. Yeah, great, good. Because I've heard you speak before too, and I was like, gosh, she looks so familiar and she sounds so familiar. All right, so let me share my screen real quick here. This one.
And Heidi, in addition to our group and Kelly representing the DPW, we also have Gordon Starr, who's a town councilor with the town of Barnstable, on the call as well.
Awesome. Great. So let's talk through who we are at GoNet Speed. GoNet Speed is the largest privately owned fiber provider in the Northeast. And when I say, I'll reiterate that, privately owned. So we don't seek funds from the municipalities that we go into. We're infusing our own funds from our own investment group into the networks that we build. We are currently in Massachusetts in some areas, and I'll talk through that when we get to the map. We currently pass over 625,000 locations. Of those 625,000 locations, we currently have over 100,000 subscribers, and that currently spans about 9 states. We are expanding into 2 additional states. We were lucky enough to be awarded a grant in Rhode Island, and so we'll be expanding into Rhode Island, and then we're also expanding into New Jersey. So these are the original 9 states. As you can see, most of those are in the Northeast. We do have a few outliers here of Missouri and Alabama. We service in two different ways. We are a traditional telephone provider. So in a few areas, we are what we call an ILEC, or you probably know that, but we provide traditional copper phone service in areas. In those areas, we upgrade those services, keeping the copper, but also upgrading to overlashing fiber to that, so people have options to do both. We do use some federal subsidies to do that, and it allows us to get into some more rural areas in those markets. We have some ILECs in the Northeast. In Massachusetts, we have one in Granby, which is where we started building in Massachusetts. And so we're in a lot of the Western Massachusetts towns right now. So we're in Amherst and building in East Hampton, currently building in Springfield, Ludlow, Granby, obviously. And then we have recently made a commitment to spend over $250 million in the state of Massachusetts to bring competitive fiber provider services to different municipalities. And the other way that we can build networks is greenfield. So we can go and build a network where we choose to build, which is everything outside of Granby that we're building in Massachusetts is greenfield. So we're choosing to go there for a variety of different reasons. We're local in Massachusetts. We're local in New England. So in Massachusetts, we currently have a warehouse in Agawam and offices in Agawam. As we expand into other areas like on the Cape, we'll be also bringing facilities there so that we have some customer service and salespeople and marketing people working out of offices closer to where we're building, and having a warehouse for equipment and things like that as well. So for Barnstable specifically, I'll say this first, we approach our build in phases. So it is always our goal to build an entire town, but we have to be strategic about how we do that because we're spending private investment money. We need to show, we need to be able to earn some money to reinvest back into additional phases of a build. So what I'm going to show you on the next slide is indicative of our phase one. So these numbers that you see here are phase one of our Barnstable build. So currently we're planning on passing about 7,000 locations, and that's an $8 million privately funded spend. About 65 miles of fiber. Those are aerial miles to start. That's usually what our phase one of build looks like, is aerial. It's a lot easier. I say easier, but it's not always easy to get on those utility poles and build aerially, and then sort of focus on underground areas in future phases of a build. I put 2026 here, but that actually isn't accurate. We've already started work here. We've already put applications in with the utility pole owners in Barnstable. So we are just pending to get make ready back from them, and that's the long pole in the tent for us, is sort of relying on the utility pole owners to get that make ready back, get that make ready done, and then get us a license on those poles so that we can attach. I'll stop here. Usually people have some questions here, but does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this is Barry Scheingold. Is there a legal obligation on the part of the pole owners to provide, I guess, to let you attach to their poles?
There is. They are legally obligated to let us attach in a safe way. In Massachusetts, there is no time frame in which they are required to respond to us, though. So I don't know if you are familiar with One Touch Make Ready. That is a process by which the ISPs who are building can utilize sort of self-service with the pole owner's approval to make things go faster. And Massachusetts is one of those states that does not participate in One Touch Make Ready, which means in a state like Maine, for example, that's where I live, we can from the time we put the application in to the time that we can service our customer is typically 6 to 9 months. In Massachusetts, that exact same build is taking 3 to 4 years. Yeah, so it's super challenging, which it in part might be why there's not a ton of competition in Massachusetts, because it's challenging to get on the utility poles. Good question, though. Other?
Yeah, just, that there were timelines for interconnection processes in terms of electric transmission, but is there an effort to get timelines for pole attachments?
Yeah, we're working with legislation right now to adopt One Touch Make Ready in Massachusetts, as well as potential rulemaking that will force by law some timelines on those things. So we've been working for a couple of years to get that in place. It's looking promising, but as you know, legislation doesn't always happen overnight.
Heidi,
Sure. Thank you.
was that Bill H3478?
Yeah.
That has just been extended to December now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I did see that.
I believe that's the new bill number on it, yes. Other questions? Good questions, Very. Thank you. Nope. Okay. So let's talk about the map. Please ignore the bright green lettering. Those are our work order numbers, but I included Yarmouth here as well because you did ask about Yarmouth. So currently Yarmouth is the first part of what we're going to be building on the Cape. And then as you can see, where we move into Barnstable is sort of off of the Yarmouth build. And that's typically what we would do, right? So it's easier for us to connect where we already are. So we'd be doing the Yarmouth build. And then as we're doing that, we would be sort of moving into Barnstable. So I know Barnstable is a much bigger space on the map than what we're showing here for the build, but keeping in mind that we're talking about doing this in phases, right? So this being phase one, excuse me. We have applications in for Yarmouth and Barnstable at the same time. So we got Yarmouth in just ahead of where we did Barnstable, and then we would move into Barnstable. A lot of it would be done at the same time. Questions on this? I know people want more of this build, and I get that. I do get that. I understand that. It is always our goal to build an entire space, but we have to do it in stages.
I have a question, Heidi. Why did you skip the hospital in Hyannis?
The hospital?
Yeah.
Where's the hospital?
It's on just west of the Yarmouth line. On the water?
Like by Hyannis?
Right there. Yep, right there.
Area?
Maybe
Is
they're
the
already connected.
hospital on private land with underground utilities?
Oh, okay. That might be it. Yep.
That's probably why.
Okay.
So two things here, right? So like I said, our initial plan is to do the aerial build. Underground is in the plan. Underground with a level of access is also there, but another level of challenge, right? So we need to get permission from whoever owns that private property or private road to get onto it. If there's an not for the hospital, obviously, but if there's an HOA, we have to get an easement from the HOA to be allowed to go into certain areas or private roads and stuff like that.
Heidi, you mentioned that this was phase one. Are there other phases that you already have planned out?
I don't have those yet. So I think they would plan that as they start to sort of see how things go in the phase one, and then they would plan out a phase two and do expansions from there. So I don't actually have what that might look like yet. I could imagine though that it, much like we've done with Yarmouth, we've moved into sort of the closest area. It would probably move, down along the coast and up into where Route 6 is and stuff like that.
Okay. Now is future expansion based upon how many subscribers you end up with from phase one?
That's a big part of it. So the take rate is essentially what that's called, is a big part of whether or not the timing in which they move on to other phases, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Other questions on this?
Yeah, just from looking at the map, it looks like the areas you're targeting there are the more densely settled parts of Barnstable and Yarmouth. Is that generally how you do things, go from the more densely settled to less densely settled over time?
That typically is part of the calculation we do on where we're going to go. It's just, it costs about 125,000 for aerial builds alone per mile, to build. So the more houses we can get into an area, the more opportunity we would have to get people as subscribers.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Heidi, just one more question. What's it take time-wise for a phase like this to be built out?
Well, so if we're in Maine, 9 months.
Mhm.
In Massachusetts, we're hoping to start doing construction next year, and we'll open segments up as we get them built. So obviously it wouldn't be the whole town or the whole portion of where we're saying we're going to build at once.
Sure.
It all depends on the pole owners though. So if we get those licenses in a work order enough for us to be able to do work, that's when we would open it. So in Massachusetts, that's more challenging to predict.
Sure.
So the pole owners here are Comcast and EverSource, and maybe Verizon. Is that
It's
too?
Verizon and EverSource or National Grid, depending on the area. So it's
Okay.
usually the telephone company and the power company.
Right.
Comcast would be, I assume that's who you guys have. They would be our competitor.
Right.
So how we install, so as you can see on this slide, we have the utility poles that are in the right of way. We would get permission from the utility pole owner to attach to those poles. And then a customer decides they want to order our service. We would schedule a time with them between 48 and 72 hours. We would get out there. Prior to that appointment, we would go out, we would do the drop from the pole to the home to make sure that it is lit with our fiber. Make sure that everything is working. And then during that appointment time, we would get into the house with the homeowner and walk around, make sure that everything is working properly. It's a pretty seamless process that most people are very happy with. The majority of people are happy with. So customer testimonials, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to take a look at sort of our Google reviews, what people are saying about us. It really starts with our technicians who are going into people's homes, and then also with our customer service. Like I was mentioning, we're local. So our call centers are in Bangor, Maine, and in Rochester, New York. So when someone's calling for help in whatever way, that's who they're reaching. You pick up the phone and you'll talk to a person. So, and I know that can be challenging for other providers sometimes. I'm not sure if folks are familiar what Net Promoter Score means, but essentially Net Promoter Score is a 1-question survey that our industry sends out to our customers. So all telecommunications providers send this out to their customers, and it is basically, would you recommend our service to someone you know? And then they score that anywhere between a negative, hey, I hate you, or to a negative 100, or I love these guys forever, as a positive 100. We're super proud of the fact that we land at a 75, which is in the top 1%. So that just sort of backs up the what I'm saying about customer service. It's important to us. Our people are going to be living there as well, and it's important. So let's talk about price. This is what our current price in Massachusetts is. As you know, fiber is symmetrical. So you're not only getting 500 download speed, you're getting 500 upload speed. We provide a router for our customers. We don't charge them for a router. It just makes it a lot easier if we need to remote in to help somebody with a modem problem or a router problem or anything. We don't require that they use our router. They can use their own if they want to. Sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to troubleshoot if we're trying to do it remotely, if it's a different router. So it makes it easier for us to just let them use the router that we provide if they choose to. Installation, there's not typically a charge. I will say if it's a super long driveway, like I have a 500-foot driveway, and I did not get it charged for, I don't have my own service, unfortunately, it's not here, but the provider that I have didn't charge us. But if it's like 700 and 750-foot driveway, typically we would work with the customer on whatever additional construction cost that might be. But your typical driveway, anything usually under 750 feet, we would not charge for construction.
I think they'll find very few 750-foot driveways in those areas of phase one.
Right, right. And then, so I like to ask people, if I think it's Comcast that you have, which be your primary provider. Are these prices looking pretty comparable to what you see out there now?
Little less, I would say.
Okay, well, that's good.
I think I'm paying 105 now for 1 gig.
And that's not symmetrical, so
Right.
that's good.
Less.
That's good.
I think they're less also.
Okay. Well, that's our goal, right? And even if they weren't, that's the benefit of competition, right? So they will probably it'll force them to bring their prices down, and we'll want to stay competitive. So
Right. But I think they some of their service it comes with cable. So is TV is that part of what you offer, TV, or is that?
Yeah, no, unfortunately we don't. So it is just the fiber connection. We do, and I'll talk about it in the next slide. We do lots of educational classes and things on sort of cutting the cord, so to speak, where
Right.
the streaming services are so much more popular these days and that thing. But it is strictly the internet service.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah. And then let's talk a little bit about community engagement. It is super important for us. John and I try to get in front of the towns that we're going to be building in ahead of when we actually start construction. Excuse me. We feel it's really helpful. Probably a cat here. We feel it's really helpful to make those connections, because what happens when we start rolling trucks into your town is people are going to start calling the town offices and say, what, or DPW, Kelly, they're probably going to be calling you saying, what's going on here? So we just like to make sure that communication is open and that we build that relationship ahead of time. In addition to that, we believe in digital equity and inclusion. So we do educational classes. We will work with the municipality to offer services to lower income areas, such as free library connections in those areas and things like that. We do participate in Lifeline, which is a discounted service program through the government. So if somebody qualifies for the Lifeline discount, we participate in that as well. We sponsor events in communities. We like to be a part of them. So I mean, that's a win-win for us, right? If we're there and our name is out there, then people know who we are, and vice versa, and we can support the community in that way. That's all I have for slides. So I can stop there and we can talk through questions that folks have. Kelly, I know our permitting person had some questions for the DPW in Barnstable, and I'm not sure if you've seen an email from him or not, come across your desk at all.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was still on mute. I have not seen anything. I'm not sure it would go to me anyway.
Okay.
Quite honestly, I usually do get looped into things fairly regularly, but I haven't seen anything. I can ask our town engineer though.
Okay. If he's not, I know that he's reached out a few times. Is it Christopher Stiles? Is that maybe the?
Oh yeah, so
person?
Chris does handle the road opening permits. So perhaps that was a conversation. He wasn't in the office today, so I can follow up with him tomorrow if he's in.
Okay.
It might be worth, if you have anything that you want to just loop me in on the conversation. Okay. I'm happy to make sure it goes to the right person.
Awesome. I know that Ben just sent a follow-up email today, so maybe John, if you don't mind, would you mind just forwarding that over to Kelly as well, so that you can loop her in or whatever. Yeah. So that's our presentation. What other questions can I answer for you folks? Do you want to see where else we are building on the Cape? Is that interesting to anybody or?
Yeah.
I had a question, Heidi. So where, is there already fiber in Hyannis?
I know that Open Cape is all over the
Yeah.
Cape. But I don't know that there are other residential
Right.
competitors yet. I do
I
know
think- yeah,
that
I think
other,
they're mostly connected to institutions.
right. And I do know that other fiber providers have expressed interest in being on the Cape as well. So
Mhm.
at this point, it's really a race to who gets on those poles first.
Okay, okay.
We're very aware of that, yeah. Other questions, or I'm happy to show that map.
Sure. Show us where you are.
Let's see. And I say that now, I don't know where I put it. Here we go. Let's see if I can move this over. Am I still sharing my screen? Can you
Yeah,
folks
we can
see?
see
Yes.
that, yeah.
You can
Can
see
you
it.
see the map? Okay.
Yes.
So as you can see, here's where we have Barnstable, Yarmouth, Harwich and Dennis, Chatham. It does seem a bit broken up. I am not the engineer. I couldn't tell you why the decision was made to be where they are. Most likely density.
Density. Yep.
Falmouth, Mashpee, Provincetown is a little bit more challenging simply because it is pretty far and we have we're struggling to get transport in that area. So the backhaul fiber that we would need to run. So we are working on it, but Provincetown is sort of lower on the list of priorities on the Cape.
Very good. That gives us a good sense, but good. Ron, do you have anything else to add or any questions or?
How is usually the reception of, a new company when you come into an area as a competitor? I'm sure you're welcomed by a lot of people, right? Because on the Cape, we don't have very many options, but
Yeah.
how has it been traditionally in other areas that I guess we'd say are somewhat similar to the Cape where there's not much competition and then you guys come in? Is it well received?
I think people are thrilled to be able to
Good.
have additional choices, and additional choices that are, future-proof choices like fiber, as opposed to something like a fixed wireless or, and they have their place for sure, but can be a little bit less reliable.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would guess you would be welcomed.
Yeah, I think so.
we
I
have
was
a
just
lot
in,
inefficient or insufficiently served areas and
Yeah.
underserved areas, and
yeah,
everything slows down in the summer when more people are trying
Right.
to get on. So I think
I was
and
just
I think
in,
your prices are great compared to what we're paying, I think.
oh, good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I was just in on the Cape last week, actually. I was in Falmouth and we were chatting with the Falmouth MLP about the build there as well. So we've also put applications in Falmouth.
Now,
Area.
when your customer service, can you talk to a real person?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
That's
I know that is a big frustration, right?
yes.
Yeah, definitely a real person. And I will also say, I oftentimes will have somebody will call the town hall and say, I'm having a hard time getting in touch with somebody, or when, we have those issues that come up. The town will reach out to one of either John or I, and we're happy to help, alleviate issues as well. So
Okay.
everybody's really willing to jump in and help out.
So Heidi, you mentioned two reasons why Maine was faster. One was the one touch.
Yep, it's basically the one touch make ready. Yeah.
I know Eversource is very slow. You put in solar panels. They take their time coming to hook them in.
Yeah.
I can see that. Well, and you said that installation was faster in Maine, but I didn't quite catch why.
No, installation's about the same across the country in
Okay.
terms of our installation. It's the same 48 to 72 hours. Installation or in terms of construction on the utility poles
Right.
is faster in those one touch make ready states like Maine, Connecticut are one touch make ready. So the whole process is faster in states like Maine that have a one touch make ready system.
Are their poles all owned by one company?
New England, most of New England are jointly owned polls. So Maine, it's CMP and Verizon as well.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly Verizon, not all Verizon, but yeah.
Well, good. Unless anyone else has any more questions, Heidi, want to thank you for the presentation. It was very informative, and maybe I can speak for some others. It's really good to have a competition for for internet service and for fiber.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for letting us come and chat. I'll send the slide deck out to you folks. Ron, maybe I can send it to you for distribution.
I can do that.
And that way you have it. And then if anybody has other questions, feel free to reach out to John or I. Jane, I'm actually on the CCTC committee as well. Am I saying that right? Because I think there's a meeting
Yes.
this week, or maybe it's next week. So I'll probably see you on there. I listen in. I was invited to listen in. So, yeah, if folks have questions, feel free to reach out to either John or I.
Great.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everybody for your time. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's move on to green communities. And I guess Ron will get back to you maybe further on in the
Sure.
agenda. So let's see, since our last meeting, I spoke before the town council July 17th. And actually I provided a letter the prior day, and what I talked about was the initiatives before the Department of Public Utilities, and we did talk about it generally at the last meeting, which a group spearheaded by DOER is looking for significant changes in rates for heat pump users. And the utilities were asked or ordered by the DPU to come up with proposals that would be effective for next winter heating season. Eversource put up a proposal that basically they would have lower rates in the winter and higher rates in the summer. The DPU, with some modifications, approved the proposal, which would be effective November for the next heating season, and they summarized it by saying this would net have a 17% reduction in rates paid by heat pump users, and I believe it would be about 4% less than estimated for a combination of gas and air conditioning. So that was I gave an update to the town council and basically saying, because the stretch code really tries to encourage people to, who are new construction or large additions, to go to heat pumps as a way of addressing climate change, that this is a positive development by making, the operating costs, less than for gas. So I gave that presentation. Now that I think about it, I don't think I circulated it to the committee, but I will do that after this call. So you'll have that, although it's available online. And maybe Gordon, you can speak to this, but there've been discussions to get the stretch code on the agenda for the town council. And it looks like maybe we can do that for the first reading for the first meeting in September, and the second reading for the second meeting in September. Gordon,
So I met with the town manager and the head of the chair of the leadership of the town council, and they're very. We only have one meeting in July and one meeting in August. So and we never got through the July meeting. We ended up, it got to be 11 o'clock and everybody voted there was a vote to continue the meeting and everybody voted no. So there are a few things left over. So the agendas are full, but they agreed to put it on first read at the beginning of September and second read at the end of September. So I've sent the town attorney some models for the Green Communities ordinance. So I'll follow up with them. If you can think of if anybody here can think of talk to any builders they know, any HERS raters, we just need to get that, our arguments out there. I talked to the Home Builders and Remodelers Association the other day. And they're going to get back to me. They had a couple concerns about, is there enough electricity on Cape Cod to go all in heat pumps? As far as I think if you asked Eversource, they would say yes. I don't know. If anybody has an idea how to answer that question. The other one was that the air exchange systems don't last as long as the whoever the manufacturers say they will. I guess there have been some stories of them failing at 4 or 5 years and having to be replaced. It's a ways away. It's the beginning of September, but it's not that far away.
I think we're talking about September 4th and September 18th.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And anybody you think would like to come and speak during public comment? I don't know. We're not going to, some people wanted to do another workshop on green communities. And my answer was, go back and watch the workshop we did in the early spring.
I agree.
Do your homework.
I think that's
do your homework.
dragging and putting an obstructionism. The information's there.
Yeah.
And we've been available to answer questions all along. And so
right.
I think that's obstructionism. And even some of the concerns that you're mentioning, Gordon, I mean, we can look up what's the length, effective length of the more popular manufacturer heat pumps. I don't think it's 4 or 5 years. We're going on 8 years.
Yeah,
second one.
I don't think we're talking about the heat pumps, or are we talking about the
air exchange, the air exchange
air
unit.
exchangers, right?
Where the
ventilation.
Oh, okay. They're very simple. I doubt that they only last 3 or 4 years unless they're faulty in the beginning. It's just basically, a fan going by
right. And yeah, just curious, is this like, even if they have to be replaced, is this a big
Sorry, here comes the train.
Pardon? You had a train go by?
It's the train going by. It's okay.
Yeah, by the way, Gordon, I went by on that train yesterday, so
must be the dinner train.
It was the brunch train, Sunday brunch train. Anyway, yeah. So, but I don't know if there's any validity to that, but is that a big ticket item or not? Do we have any sense?
I don't know. I'll talk to them some more.
Okay. All right.
Woman I talked to.
So yeah. So I think and I think one of the local builders did, at the last time it came up, did speak at the public comment session. There were several committee members, there are people who spoke before, so that's an opportunity. And so, we also can speak, so anyways, I'll work on that, getting some folks to speak and address some of these issues. The significance about the electricity costs and the rate changes. This is one area that there was a consensus that the operating costs were higher for the heat pumps, and and that these rate changes will bring, actually will reverse that, so it's less expensive. And the difference between the Eversource proposal and the DOER proposal, the working group proposal, is, how much less expensive will it be? So anyway.
Yeah, we also found out that in the last 5 years, in the town of Barnstable, we built 125 single-family homes. So we're talking 25 buildings a year.
That's,
Oh, really?
I think that's really important, Gordon, because
Yeah.
we're holding up the pushback from a small number of private homes versus everything we can do to have help, technical assistance, as well as funding to help with our public buildings, including our schools that are in desperate shape for improvement in
Yeah.
HVAC and air quality. And
So-
so it's almost, to me, it's almost a ridiculous comparison.
And we're not building $500,000 houses anymore. We're building $1.2 million houses.
Mhm.
So it's less of a percentage of cost in the long run.
Yeah.
Well, and
And then
fact
we
that
have, we have 500 people, 50,000 people in Barnstable compared, you compare that to 12 or 14 builders
yes.
who are going to be affected, who
50,000
build in other
people,
towns
many of
anyway.
them use many of the.
So there,
public
one way of looking at this, Gordon, is this from the Home Builders Association in
Yes.
terms of new homes? So 125 building in 5 years, about 25 a year.
Yeah,
And, if, remember, Chris, the HERS rater, said that he has a whole bunch of clients, like dozens of clients, in the town of Barnstable that are doing HERS ratings, even though it's not required. Because it's done everywhere else. So when you take those out, then they're probably complying with the stretch code anyways, because that's what
and those are the new homes. I mean, like
yeah.
you were doing.
So if you take some percentage of those out, we're even talking about maybe 60 or 70. It's yeah. So it's going to make a pretty small difference.
And then there's some large additions that would probably be in that category too, but I don't know.
Right. And that's hard to get
It is.
a handle on. Yeah. So, okay, but that's helpful. Good. We'll get it.
So one more thing is if you run into your town councilor, talk to them, about
Right.
the stretch code and how it's gonna, our housing stock will be built much more energy efficiently. It will cost less to run it in the future, and we won't have to pay large amounts of money to rebuild them,
Right.
to refit them.
Right. So,
It'll save us money in
yeah.
the long run.
Yeah. I did meet not my town councilor, but the one from Katuitt at the Kettler's baseball game the other day.
Right.
So a couple
Yeah.
days ago. Well, good. Well, yeah, that's helpful. So I think, yeah, and Gordon, I'll follow up with you. I think we can get better information to address this. I think what I've seen, and some of this got into the record at the workshop. So DUR had consultants, and they did a study that for new construction, where you're using heat pumps, it is less expensive under the stretch code than under the base code. If you were just complying with the base code using gas. And there is a study that the Home Builders Association sponsor with others that shows that it's more expensive, but a lot of those benefits were because they didn't consider the mass save incentives or some of the cost savings you can get from engineering to a performance code as opposed to a prescriptive code. So yeah, so and Chris, in his experience, it comes out to about a wash. So it's there's different views, but it's kind of a fine point one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's see. So in terms of green communities, I guess the other thing that is being talked about, and you met with the staff, is the other work that needs to be done for the energy plan and I don't know if you want to talk to that briefly.
Yeah, there are two other components: is the vehicle policy and the energy reduction plan, which is energy reduction plan is it's a long process. It's a big process. We have to look at all the buildings that the town municipal buildings and write a plan for reducing energy use by 20% in the next 5 years. So that can be done. Sean Hogan and David Anthony said it could possibly be done by the end of December. They could work hard at it. They've done it before, so they've got some of the information already ready. And then there's the vehicle policy plan. Both of those have to be had to be signed off by the school committee, because the school committee has vehicles and a high percentage of our buildings are school buildings. But that's the stretch code is the
Right. Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
we're doing that first.
Yeah, and I think from talking to DOER that I don't know whether that they said they don't think they've ever rejected an energy reduction plan or a vehicle policy that on the face of it seems to meet the standards. So I agree. I think it's really the stretch code that's the issue here. So, all right. Anything else that anyone want? Thank you, Gordon. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything in terms of green communities?
I just want to bring up, and Kelly, maybe you can enlighten me on this, is how much is the town for some of these very big data review options that they're happening in every single category. It certainly happens in sewer and septic review and in the CWMP committee, but this sort of thing, I suspect if the town were to adopt ChatGPT or AI to help with this, and most of our data, all of our data is public data, it could be streamlined tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
Is that happening in the town?
I would ask Sean Hogan. He would know if there's a way to meld those two.
Yeah, I agree. It's not that I'm aware of happening here at DPW. A lot of it's pretty much manual at this point. Yeah, so Sean might be the best person to ask. I think Gordon's right.
I would bet, just from my little exploration into this and reading how it's being used in municipalities, that frequently a month's worth of work can be done by the correct AI tool, like in a day. And the data is already out there. It's not like this is
So Jane,
why
don't you follow up with Sean and see where they are with that?
I would like to save everybody work. Certainly staff, but everybody. And I think it's happening pretty quickly, and it's worth exploring those applications that people would feel comfortable with. Certainly not putting the whole town on right away, but exploring opportunities, I think, can be very helpful. For example, when I read the minutes as written.
Jane, excuse me, I have, maybe you can talk about this at the end. I have a deadline. I have to leave.
Go.
And so maybe problem. Yeah, I want to make sure that John and Chris get, because I think Chris, are you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm back. Yep. I don't know if we wanted to share what we talked about, Barry.
Yeah, why don't you talk about where you're at on your project?
Yeah, so just a quick update on the trip to Sandy Neck. I've been working on an outline for the hopefully September event. And Barry, I haven't answered back because I'm trying to figure out my availability that Sunday, which may not be able to be that weekend then. But an event talking about impacts of climate change across Barnstable. We thought Sandy Neck would be a good place. Again, in other calls, I know we've discussed this, but other places, probably aren't as visual, but with Sandy Neck and erosion and rising sea level, we thought it'd be a good location. So we came up with an event overview that we're going to be giving you, Kelly, after I revise a couple of things after Barry and I spoke. But unfortunately, we're only at one meeting this month, but hopefully we can continue this conversation via email. I don't have it with me, but as soon as we finalize the plan and the outline, I will be sending it to everybody after Barry signs off on it, after Kelly gets her eyes on it. But we're hoping in September, probably again after Labor Day, when we want the local crowd to be involved. And again, you'll see more of that hopefully in the next week or so
Yeah.
when you get this.
So Chris, let me give you one quick response. That Saturday, although I do have a potential conflict, go ahead with that date. I
Okay.
may be able, I may be
Okay.
able to make it back in time, but I'm not necessarily essential to this. So,
Okay.
Yeah, if that works for you and others. Just a question, did you get with Rachel on your plan, or?
Not until we finalize, no. So I emailed her saying that we're still ironing out the last bit of the details.
Do you
Yeah.
want to get any any feedback from her before you finalized?
Sure. Yeah, I can send it before I send it to Kelly. I mean, you think it stands in a pretty decent place, right? Just I think the
Yes.
date was the last thing you had it
Yeah.
brought up. Okay. Then
Yeah.
I'll send it to her.
Okay. And Rachel Jones is I guess environmental photographer or nature photographer, and she is planned to be part of this program. So.
Exactly. She's been, just so everyone's aware, she's been documenting since she moved to the Cape a lot of the changes that we've been seeing with the dune system across Sandy Neck. And I thought that would be a great way to hear and see the changes, but also hear anecdotally from her, what she's experienced in her time being out there and covering some of the dune response to rising sea level and stronger storms. So we're hoping to integrate her into this event as well. So
yeah, and I guess so we're what, about 6 weeks away?
What date are you considering?
let me see.
September
The 13th.
Oh, that's
September
only,
13th.
oh, I see. So that's only like 4 weeks away.
It is, I know it's quick. So
I mean, to put that together and then to advertise that.
unless we revisit later in the month. I mean,
Well,
obviously the weather's pretty nice right through October on the
right.
Cape. So if we want to postpone to maybe the 27th before we get into October, it's a possibility as well. I don't know if that works for anyone else.
27th works for me. The 13th would not, but
Okay.
with that.
I have the opposite. The 27th doesn't work, but go ahead with what works best for you.
Well, what about that Sunday, the 28th then? How's that for Jane and Ron? And
I'm off Cape for.
oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. Till
Any Sunday works for me, but again, don't base it off of me. Saturdays are tough for me with catering, but Sundays I'm usually pretty open.
Okay.
So
Barry,
Chris,
thoughts on those?
we'll leave it to you. My only comment is if you're going to stick with the 13th, then you really need to move very quickly to put this together.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't want to rush unnecessarily. So if we can delay until later in the month, maybe that's the best decision. So
and the 27th or the 28th, that's fine for me.
Okay. Okay.
So Chris, can you forward to me what you're gonna, what the program is?
Yeah, absolutely, Gordon.
Okay. Because
Do
I
you
spent
want,
a lot of time
Chris, do you want to
seeing it.
just spend a
Great.
minute walking through what it is, so that people get a better sense of it?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, Gordon, with the work that's being done to realign the parking lot in Sandy Neck, I think it's a popular beach for people to really understand what the town is doing proactively to keep up with climate change, but it's a way for people to really see the impacts with their own eyes. So the idea is to talk a little bit about the project, the background of that project, but also broaden it to other impacts of climate on here on Cape Cod. So more extreme rain events, with heat, more heat. So I think that that's an opportunity just to have a location that people are familiar with, that's popular, that people can kind of better understand what we are seeing. So what I'd hoped would be that we could get some prints up from Rachel to show some of the changes she's seen. I'm hoping Sturgis has some archives of the beach that we can kind of use to compare and contrast some of those shoreline changes that we've seen. And then I thought it would be great to have a couple of members of the committee there to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing and the work the town is doing to combat climate change. So more of like an open house for people to gather.
Yeah, I think and some of the was it Nina or Amber Unruh, who gave an
Yeah,
overview of the history of
Nina, right?
Excuse me? No, I
I
think
think it was Nina.
I don't know. What do you think, Kelly?
and it could have been either one of them, but I had mentioned this at a previous meeting too, that I know we are planning a groundbreaking event for the construction project, the parking lot relocation. Now, granted, I don't think that's going to be a public event. I think it's going to be more like, invite only type of situation to get, major government officials, state level officials, because we've received so many very large grants for this project. So similar to what they did for the CWMP before I was here, there was a groundbreaking for the first sewer project. And it was really that photo op, but a chance to educate all of the folks who've been involved in the financing, the funding, and planning. So that event will happen at some point. I've been talking with Amber and Nina both about that, most likely early October. Maybe potentially there's a way to do this together. My only hesitation with offering that is I'm not sure. I don't think the intent for the groundbreaking is necessarily to be a big public event.
Right.
But I could be wrong because I was not here for the CWMP groundbreaking. I wasn't at the town at the time. But there may be an opportunity for something, because it sounds like a lot of what you guys want to talk about, they're going to talk about at the groundbreaking as well.
What's the date of that again, Kelly?
We're in the process of figuring that out now,
Okay, so
based off of when the contractor wants to start construction, because ideally we do want them to be mobilized in the parking lot, so that there's a backdrop there and we're close to construction happening. And right now that's looking like that might happen by Columbus Day. So we'd probably be looking at like an early October event.
Okay. I mean, would you
Okay.
mind feeling out the involved
Yeah,
parties to see if they'd be interested?
Yeah, I certainly can.
Okay.
I certainly can.
I guess,
Okay.
so one of doing it at kind of the same event, or two, just doing it as a different event.
I mean, I think you guys can go either way. I was just thinking, like, from a timing perspective, in knowing how much goes into planning an event,
Right.
if there's the potential to do it together, it might help everyone. I just don't know. I need to get more direction on, like, if we're just looking at our event being sort of like that photo op for, state officials and various partners, and sort of like that commemorative event, or there's an opportunity to make it a public friendly educational event as well. So I'll figure that out on my end, and perhaps you continue to plan in tandem and we can see if it comes together.
Okay. Yeah, I'm open to that. Is this more than a CZM MVP grant, or is this
I
is
think
it
that's
broader
really,
than that?
think that's really the focus. And I know
Okay.
that the CZM is doing their own grant award thing. And I think it's in Plymouth, or they did do one in Plymouth. And Amber
Okay.
said it was very much focused on the grant award winners.
Okay.
They did, because she went to that. So I think this is similar, but we'd be looking at inviting like our local reps and various state government as well, officials.
Okay.
And of course, town councilors and, all of that.
So Kelly, do you think you can get back in the next couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, Amber and I have been working on this, and it's just going slower than I think I anticipated, because I feel
Yeah.
the time crunch too. There's a lot that goes into organizing an event, but I did
Sure.
do all the scouting to see where we could host it, and that pavilion would be a great area because there's already tables there, although we would probably move those out and put actual seating, especially if we're talking about the level of, people we're looking to invite. But there's a lot of opportunity for photo ops there. And then especially if RBO is already mobilized to the lower parking lot, it really does have a great sort of backdrop, but it would be primarily focused on just that particular project, the coastal resiliency project.
Okay. Well, great.
Thanks, Kelly.
That'll be helpful. And then Chris, when you get that feedback, then that'll help
Great.
going from there. Okay. All right. So Chris, anything else? You maybe if you can just tick through what the things that you were planning on covering at this event, or as it stands now.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up I don't have the outline in front of me, Barry, but let me see if I have look at my email.
If that's going to take you a while to get, maybe you can circulate something,
Yeah, let me circulate. Barry
Okay,
might be a
all right.
better use of time so I
Okay,
can
all
find
right.
it.
Okay. All right. Anything else on climate change and climate science?
That's all for now, Barry.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Jane, air quality monitoring, and also, if you want to use this time to talk about AI and in terms of how it could help the town, that would be a good time to talk about it. I wanted to make sure I got Chris's project in, given the time constraints. Jane, you may be
Yeah, you're
muted.
muted,
I'm
Jane.
sorry, I'm muted. I just thought you skipped over John.
Oh, I did. We'll go ahead and then we'll go back.
That's okay. I don't have a whole lot to
Okay.
report this week, so why
I've
don't you go
just,
ahead, Jane?
I've since probably April, I went to a workshop on ChatGPT. So I've been playing with it, and I'm finding that from my own research and editing of my own writing and condensing and highlighting minutes that may be often written in prose, as ours are, probably by tradition and because it goes along with the taping of the meeting. Sometimes it's hard for the topics to jump out. You can ask ChatGPT to rework the minutes in an outline form and highlight, the key deliverable. And wait a minute, sorry. Find this. My foster granddaughter won a $60,000 scholarship today, and that's her mom calling. So I'll get
That's
back to them
exciting.
at the end. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. But anyway, along with my own exploring, we had a very good speaker, Russ Wilcox. I don't know if you were with the Tech Council, Ron, at that time or not, but he spoke about his AI company specifically tries to facilitate the work of municipalities, from small towns smaller than ours to big cities. And the amount of time and energy saved for, researching through data sets that are not necessarily set up to be easy to research is remarkable. And for example, they did a big survey in Bowling Green, Kentucky about 2 weeks ago, and they were trying to get more citizen input into the town decision-making process to understand what was the interest of the townspeople, get more engagement, not just the people who had time on their hands and felt extremely strongly about issues. They used a Google spinoff called Jigsaw, and they said they crunched through answers from 8,000 residents in, I think it was a day or two, instead of would have taken a month. And so I'm thinking about some of these exercises we have both in the David Anthony, Sean Hogan shop, as well as in CWMP, listening in on those conversations. A lot of this stuff is kind of tedious, just going through files, and that's the type of thing when the townspeople or the town staff are in charge of directing the AI search. It can be dramatic in terms of time saving, organization, and that sort of thing. So I'm just looking for the right opportunity, not for me to give the example, but to bring in somebody like Russ Wilcox and set up a few queries, like some part of what might need to happen with, say, the energy reduction plan, and just have him demonstrate on some of the data sets how quickly he could find, he could organize the data for our people to make it safe.
Well, you can, why don't you suggest that to Sean?
Okay.
And, I'll just say, just a little example here. So I wrote this letter, which is more detailed, about the, heat pump rates and the stretch code. And, Jane fed that into or Chat GPT for a 2.5-minute summary to be given orally. And I saw that, it was like getting a useful first draft. I used some of it was, I thought was important, wasn't included. Some of it that, the tone wasn't right. So it was a useful tool, but not something that I would use to provide a finished product with. So, but for what that's worth.
Well, and I think it can be, like you say, almost a useful ghostwriter. You can also train it, and it is getting better at a dramatic speed. So you can ask for a certain format, bulletized, outlined, or in a certain tone or in a certain style, and it can redo it. But for me, it clarifies things, because I have trouble sometimes picking out the highlights from a prose document, whereas outlines, I guess outlines must be the way I've gotten through my career and my way of organizing data. So anyway, I'll bring it up. If you think that's okay, I'll bring it up to Sean and Dave Anthony and see what they say.
Okay. Yeah, but, it's going to take some time to put together that plan. If that could help reduce the time.
If that could help them, and that's something that our group is interested in helping with, then I'll offer that. And in terms of air quality, there's nothing new specifically on that. I did hear a really dramatic ultraviolet UVC tuned system that helps with sterilizing air and is safe for building occupants. But that was a whole presentation, and I'm going to follow up with the developers. They come out of the military, and they're working with my former boss, so I'm gonna get more details on it. But it's a very good addition to air quality technology, in addition to filters and improving ventilation. It actually sterilizes the air, kills virus, bacteria, mold, things that we don't want to have living in our
Oh, good.
house or in our cells. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jane. John, I apologize for skipping you and food waste. So, but you're next.
Okay, sure. Before we jump into the food waste, I was just seeing that I have on my screen a notice that this meeting is being recorded and transcribed by AI Companion. And I was just curious if anyone knows what that is, what that means.
I think it's something that Jane has set up, to be honest, because every time she joins a meeting, it does it.
Yeah,
It says that Jane added it in my notes. You're on mute, Jane. I do get a summary after, since I'm the host of the meeting.
Jane, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. You do get the summary, Kelly? Okay.
Yep, I do.
And I can keep that going or stop it if, with your preference, depending on if it's. I mean, I don't want to do anything that's not approved. And sometimes I've set that up for smaller meetings that aren't official town meetings,
Yeah.
and it just.
So here's what I would have to say about that. Similar to the way I used it, Kelly, if this is helpful for you as providing a draft, as long as you review it and are comfortable with it and are free to edit it.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
mean, I use the transcription that Zoom records anyway to double check my draft, so it's just one other thing to double check with.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
But I know there has been hesitancy from like the town communications team with using it on other meetings, and not necessarily committees, but like town council and things like that.
As long as you take responsibility for the product and are not relying solely on the AI, then I'm fine.
Yep, agreed.
Okay.
You definitely have to edit it because it does make mistakes and omissions and so forth, but
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so on to food waste.
Yeah.
I was hoping that by now we would have the report from the consultant who's working on the proposal for a composting facility at the joint base, and we don't have it, and I'm starting to get concerned about it. From what I understand, the report a report has been produced. But the county is not willing to share it with us, or at least with me, until they're just reviewing it with the 4 other towns. And I was a little bit, I guess, disconcerted by this. It seems to me that this is something that should be available to the public. I'm going to speak with Alan Robinson from Falmouth, actually at 6:30 this evening, and maybe get some more information from him as to what's going on out there. But I'm kind of where my thinking at this time is that it would be best for us in Barnstable to just move forward with our own initiative and not try to tie what we're doing to the effort at the joint base, because it just doesn't seem that that's going anywhere. We've just been waiting and waiting and not hearing anything. So what I would suggest is that we go ahead and make our proposal for improvements at the transfer station, and a communication plan to try to raise awareness and collect more food waste at the transfer station, and focus on that going forward, and let the joint base project go as it goes. I just don't see what we can do to contribute to that if we're not getting any information.
Well, just kind of my sense of it, you can work with the town and improve things at the transfer station, and that's kind of a near-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
The joint base project really is I imagine it's going to be several years out before they could really initiate the project. They have to
Yes.
go through a process through these different towns. So it doesn't seem to me they're inconsistent. And I can see where it's frustrating not to get information. Is this something that is based on the agreement with the commission and the towns, or is this the response of the commission? And maybe the town has the rights to it and you could get a draft from one of the towns, or what,
Yeah. I don't know, and I'm not getting any answers to I'm not being told why. So.
okay, but yeah, but your inquiries have been made to the commission?
My inquiries are made to Carrie Parcell, who is, as I understand it, kind of the point person on this.
Right, but she works for the
She works
commission.
for the county, I think, or
Right,
for
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Maybe Alan will have some information.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I may find out more from Alan as
Yeah.
to what's
And
going
Betty
on.
Ludke was very excited about this, and she was glad to meet you by email. I think that happened, was it back in June or something?
yeah,
She brought it up at a town council meeting, and I said, you know, we've been working on this for 4 years, and John Solomon is our point person. So I don't know if have you communicated with Councilor Betty Ludke?
Not other than the email exchange that followed. You sent out an email,
Yeah.
and I
Soon
sent out
after
a
that.
follow-up to that and did not hear
Okay,
anything
because
further.
she seemed quite interested, and I think she might be in addition to maybe Gordon, a town councilor who would like to help move it along, and maybe even inquire at the county. Is it?
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, and I would say, John, keep plugging away. Don't get too frustrated, and see if you can find out from Alan what the situation is. Because they, if you're not, they may go through a process where there are comments, and then you get another draft, and you'll be able to get that. But I would think that it's in the interest of the towns and the county probably to have Barnstable part of this process. So, um, uh, I would just keep plugging away.
All right. I won't give up yet.
Okay, and if you annoy anyone, you can always blame it on me.
I won't. I guess. Well,
John doesn't
we'll see
know.
how it goes. We'll see how it
Okay,
goes.
all right. Okay, anything else on food waste?
I think that's really the main thing for right now,
Okay,
and we're getting pretty close to
right,
6:30.
right. Okay, Ron, back to you.
I'll be real quick. So just real quick, and I'll send it out to everyone and kind of summarize it. That one touch make ready that Heidi was talking about, there's actually a bill which is spearheaded right now at the State House by Kip Diggs, Bill H 3478. And one of the stipulations is permitting. And the way I read it and the way it was explained on the Tech Council meeting a couple weeks ago, last month rather, from the state level, was that I believe it's 30 days, that these companies have 30 days to respond to permitting. And if for some reason they deny it, then they have to, this whole process, why. But to my understanding is any pole which was put there, which has lines on it, which received federal or state or any money from government, they have to allow companies like GoNet Speed to be on these poles. So I'll send that out.
Yeah, a lot of these processes, the timing is important, and just my own experience with the kind of solar interconnections, and I know people had complaints with the utilities responsiveness over the years, but in recent years they have specific timelines for different steps of the processes, and at least in my experience, Eversource met all those those deadlines. So if they can set up a process, which I think this legislation probably does, that there are timelines for people like that, that should expedite the process.
Yeah, one of the examples they gave was up in Wellfleet. I think they were trying to get 16 poles permits to run line. I think it was Open Cape for 16 poles. Took 16 months to get the permitting done on that. So it's hopefully something that can be streamlined a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And lastly, I have Open Cape, who I'm still waiting on a date of one of our September meetings to come do a similar presentation that Heidi did. I still have not received a follow-up from Verizon or Comcast representatives that were referred to me by our counterparts at the Tech Council, our counterparts in Falmouth and in Bourne. And I'm still going to reach out to someone at state level government and infrastructure to see if they'd like to speak at one of our meetings.
Oh, great. Yep. That's helpful. Yeah, I learned a lot by this presentation, so it was very good. Yeah.
I had no idea that they were already phase one was going into Hyannis, so that was
Yeah.
news to me.
Okay, great. All right. Well, let's move on. I do not have any further updates. The next meeting is scheduled for,
Yeah, unless anyone has any objection, the schedule I sent around, it would have us meeting on Monday, September 8th.
okay, and then we have the 22nd, is that?
Yep. So it didn't seem like anyone had, I mean, obviously I think there was a couple one-offs here and there, but I proposed those dates. I think John had asked the question if we were kind of changing our cadence, but I proposed those dates because it just kind of lined up with meeting twice a month with avoiding any Monday holidays. We certainly don't have to stick with those, but I didn't see any major objections. I haven't physically scheduled them on the committee calendar yet because I figured we would touch base on them today on the committee pages, I should say. So
Yeah, the only thing that I noticed for me anyway, the 22nd, it's a Jewish holiday in the evening, but I probably can go from at least 5 to 6, which if we don't have a presentation, that should be adequate.
I mean, we can also move that one too. We can move that to the Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. I mean, we can plan on the 8th for now and then maybe revisit this when we have more time, if that makes more sense. And we can everyone can kind of review their schedules one more time. And
Okay. Why don't we just tentatively put it on the 22nd,
okay,
and then we can talk about it the next meeting.
okay, sounds good.
I'll work on getting Open Cape for the 8th, not the 22nd.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Anyone have anything else? Thank you, everyone, and particularly thanks, Gordon, for attending and for working on the stretch code.
Gordon's still here?
I think you might have jumped
I think he's off, but anyway.
Be in the minutes.
Thanks,
Good. All
everyone.
right.
Have him
Well,
back.
take care. We'll see you later. Yeah.
He seems
Bye-bye.
to be feeling
Bye,
better.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.